Hello everyone, my name is Alyceson-Grace AK. I am a graduate student and today I will be discussing The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Here is an overview of my video. I will discuss the book, the course materials related to the book, the connection, the key takeaways, and some anecdotes to solidify our experience together. So, what is 7 Habits about? The book details the progression of maturity from dependence to independence to interdependence through 7 habits essential to becoming a, needless to say, highly effective person. The 7 habits are: number 1, be proactive. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. Number 4, think win-win. Number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Number 6, synergize. Number 7, sharpen the saw. If you haven't read the book yet, here's a layman's explanation of the 7 habits. To be proactive is to prepare for scenarios and to have a plan of action before anything happens. To begin with the end in mind is to understand your personal mission statement and individual goals. It means to establish your purpose for your actions and decisions. First things first focuses on developing a method for identifying your priorities. Based on the priorities, a person is better able to implement time management skills. These first 3 skills help with the transition from dependence to independence. Thinking win-win, seeking first to understand, and to synergize all focus on sharing your successes and perspectives with others. They focus on different elements, be it finding mutually symbiotic relationships, engaging in the platinum rule over the golden rule, or merging experiences in a helpful way. The final habit, sharpening the saw, reminds us that, like with any skill, you must continue to develop and maintain your health and wellness. Think of losing weight. Once you find a new steady state, you must continue to improve your habits, otherwise you will return to your previous steady state. While discussing the 7 habits, Stephen Covey introduces other resources, such as a structure for a personal mission statement and the Eisenhower matrix, which provide guidance in executing prioritized tasks. There's also education in the Rogerian argument, which helps with having empathetic and constructive discussions. These lessons and resources all tie, in some way, into the course materials we've discussed. I'm going to focus on 5 topics. The 5 course topics I will center are definition of leadership, behavior approach, values-based approach, executive coaching, chapter 14, charismatic leadership. Leadership is defined uniquely, at least per tradition. It can be found on page 3 of our textbook that there are multiple definitions utilized in various research. For this circumstance, I recognize leadership to be a shared influence process. Following the book, I will place the definition of leadership here. Leadership is the process of influencing others to understand and agree about what needs to be done and how to do it, and the process of facilitating individual and collective efforts to accomplish shared objectives. The interdependence element of the 7 habits feeds into the definition of leadership, as win-win strategies, seeking first to understand, and synergy prompt others to feel included and valued in the choices made, which can increase the level of engagement and influence you have over the peers around you. The behavior approach focuses on identifying observable types of leader behavior and attempting to find correlation between such behavior and performance. The habits in Covey's book are learned traits, not innate ones, so I knew the root of the lessons wouldn't apply to the trait approach. But Covey's habits all focus on behaviors that improve the experience of the person, their peers, and their subordinates. It doesn't focus on the amount of power or the context of a situation, but rather the actions and mindset they take. I am biased. I like the behavior approach because it returns control to the subject in question. I can't control if I'm a natural born leader or if I'm in a healthy situation. My wonderful father used to tell me, you cannot control what people say, think, or do. You can only control how you respond. I'm working to live by that. I found myself peering into the values-based theories in Chapter 9, and I wanted to pair the authentic leadership idea with Covey's 7 habits. Authentic leadership is defined as a pattern of leader behavior that draws upon and promotes both positive psychological capacities and a positive ethical climate to foster greater self-awareness, an internalized moral perspective, balanced processing of information, and relational transparency on the part of leaders working with followers, fostering positive self-development. Our textbook notes that self-awareness, balanced processing of information, relational transparency, and an internalized moral component are the focuses of authentic leadership. I tie this to the procedure of understanding and implementing of the 7 habits. The first step to recovery is acknowledging your issue. How can you better yourself if you think you're already better than others? Receiving information accurately requires a proper assessment of self, which means the subject must avoid becoming defensive or uncomfortable with the truth. They must be able to put pride and fear aside to seek the object truth, else they will not be their best self. Yes, I know chapter 14 is a bit later in the book, but I couldn't help but indulge further. Executive coaching is a type of temporary mentorship that assists executives in developing skills relative to current and future leadership responsibilities. I believe that executive coaching could be even more universally applicable if the 7 habits are taught to all executives. Although charismatic leadership is focused on more in my personal anecdote, I will still mention that I loved the conversation in the module that emphasizes how charisma is something that is naturally developed. Although I don't like to think that leaders are born with certain traits, I do agree the environment and cultural elements that develop around them can make the appealing traits easier to present. This is also related in the reading of the 7 habits. The habits may be teachable, but it might be a little easier for some to execute than others. My 3 key takeaways from this reading were the importance of a paradigm shift, the introduction of the maturity continuum, the adaptation of the abundance mentality. A paradigm shift involves a fundamental change in perception of the world. Attempting to be a leader with marginalized identities and a mental neurodivergence make it a little difficult to view the opportunities that are available and possible for me to explore. Sometimes I'm inherently pessimistic. But as I've matured, I've begun to find hope even in times of challenge, and it keeps me driven. The introduction of the maturity continuum shows the progression from dependence to interdependence and allows me to evaluate my maturity and places of improvement. Interdependence is the ultimate challenge for me. I am often a woman of extremes, so it is natural for me to either be heavily dependent or independent of others. Working towards interdependence is my ultimate goal. The abundance mentality forces people like me to unlearn the dog-eat-dog view of not trusting others or believing in others and focusing on uplifting and empowering my peers alongside me. Instead of trampling over others, being sure to support them on their individual journeys. From 2018 to 2021, I served as a member of the North Texas Spirit Program, and I was a mascot in my undergraduate season. I found myself implementing elements of charismatic leadership, not because I was the most veteran or most talented, but because I wanted to couple it with my adaptation of an abundance mentality. We couldn't all compete in Daytona, but we could all be active players in the team's success and be satisfied with our growth. I share and successfully communicate the shared values between myself and my other mascot peers. My communication, in anything I do, embodies vivid representation and passion regarding the entities I serve. I've also had the honor of learning about paradigm shifts through my illustrious sorority and community engagement as a financial well-being coordinator for a local bank. I used to be incredibly submissive and generally uncomfortable with confrontation, willing to experience lose-win outcomes for the betterment of others. Now, my perspective on life has changed, courtesy of redefining my personal mission statement and seeking to live by it. The lessons we learn in our course and the resources beyond are not just for the professional sphere, but also our individual life experiences too. I appreciate you for participating with me in developing our leadership and management skills. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions.